everybody, my name is Angel and welcome back to my little corner of the internet. Or, if you're new here, welcome. I hope you stick around. Hi. Hello. Did you notice anything new, anything different, anything strike your fancy? I got a new camera. I don't know if you would notice this because for the last few videos I was borrowing a camera from the school. But again, that wasn't my camera. I was borrowing it from school and I mentioned that in a video. But I finally saved up money to get my own new camera because the one that I have been using since I started this channel is a camcorder that I've had since middle school. So I was desperately in need of some new tech. For real. Oh, also I pierced my nose. I got my septum and my nostril pierced. And I got a new car recently. Like a week or so ago. By the time you see this, all of this will probably be old news, but I figured I'd update you anyway. I'm going to be drinking this the entire video. It is a kiwi starfruit refresher lemonade from Starbucks, so don't even pay it any mind. Anyway, that's enough about my life, because y'all didn't come here for that. Today we are talking about Maid Sama, a 2010 anime based off of a manga that was released from 2005 to 2013. It's on Netflix if you want to watch it. As far as I know, there's only one season. There's only one on Netflix, and that's what I watched. So that's what we're going to talk about. Maid Sama centers around a teenage girl who is student body president and also has a part-time job at a cafe, but I can't say much more than that right now because it's heavily related to the plot. So before I get too far into that, let's do our character breakdown. You know the drill. Anyway, so our main character is this girl. Her name is Misaki. She is a third year in high school. I believe she's a third year. She is very loud, outspoken, very opinionated, very much independent woman, you know, do it all on her own kind of gal. Doesn't really like asking for help. Also has a couple violent tendencies towards some of her classmates, but there's some reasons for that. She lives with her mom and her younger sister, whose name I believe is Susanna, but she doesn't come up enough for me to know her name. I just think she's cute, so I wanted to mention her. She's kind of like, I don't know, she doesn't have a whole lot of social engagement as far as I understand. She's very obsessed with like couponing. And her mom works as a nurse or something at a hospital. Their dad is not around. That's all you need to know about Misaki. Anyway, moving on. This is our love interest. His name is Takumi. He is not really a tsundere. I don't think I would call him that. He kind of just exists. He's not really like rude to her per se. He does like to push her buttons, but it's mostly just because she doesn't react well otherwise. I mean, she doesn't react well when he pushes her buttons either, but if he doesn't push, she doesn't do anything, and he wants reactions from her, so he pushes. But he's not like an asshole per se. He just don't be talking to people, and for some reason people at school think he's gay. They don't really bring it up after episode 1, but I wrote it down here, and I feel like I wanted to talk about it. So yeah, there's that. Although I really don't think he's straight, and I'll explain why later. Yeah, that's Takumi. Oh, but side note, for some reason in my notes at some point I start calling him Tamaki, like this dude. I don't know why. Nobody ever calls him that. His name is Takumi Usui. I don't know where I got Tamaki from, but hey, they're both blonde, very weird anime boys, so it's fine. Anyway, these are the main character's best friends. I don't remember this one's name, and I feel really bad. And then this one's name is Sakura. Sakura. Yeah, she's great. Really sweet, kind of boy crazy. And this one might as well be a lesbian. She doesn't like guys at all. It's so funny. But also, there's so many times, I don't think any of the main characters are straight. But, once again, I will get into that as we go. Focus. Hello? There we go. There's these guys. They're the Three Stooges, in case you wanted to know what they look like. They are deplorable at the beginning, and then by the end they're just kind of like annoying fanboys, and I'll get to why that bothers me when I start talking about them. But yeah, here's them. They're the Three Stooges. I call them that the whole video. I don't know any of their names. Here's all her coworkers. I don't know any of their names. It doesn't matter that much. They come up a few times because duh, she works there. That's all for characters. I can't think of anyone else that needs to be listed now. Anyone else will be mentioned when the time comes. Bleh. But on that note, let's get into the plot of this show. So Misaki goes to a previously all-boys institution that recently became co-ed. She is the student body president. She is the first female student body president. And because she doesn't think teenage boys are going to take her seriously otherwise, She kind of rules the school with an iron fist type of thing. Like, she's super duper aggressive, stickler for all of the rules. She's like hella harsh on the guys that go to her school. Not so much the girls, but that's because the girls all adore her. So none of them are going around running through the halls and like trashing the way the boys do. So she doesn't have to be as harsh on them, but she's really harsh on the guys. It works, I guess. They're all terrified of her, except for Takumi, because of course he's not terrified of her. Now I'm talking about the plot, so I'll get into this. The main character works at a maid cafe. Misaki, she works at a maid cafe in like the next town over. She thinks that if any of the boys at her school found out that she worked there, they wouldn't take her seriously as student body president, and I'm not really sure why. I know that maid cafes have always been a little taboo, so maybe that's why she thinks that she has to hide it. But yeah, she does it because like her family's kind of broke because their dad left them in a bunch of debt. He's a deadbeat. I don't know if he's still alive, but he gone now. So she works to help her family pay bills and stuff like that. So I thought that this show was going to mostly be about her trying to hide the fact that she worked in a maid cafe. I was incorrect, because in episode 1, Takumi finds out that she works there. I don't really remember why or how he ended up at this maid cafe in the next town over, but he finds out episode 1 that she works there. And she decides to spill her entire life story to explain why she works at a maid cafe. And then he just starts coming to her job to sit there and watch her work, like just to mess with her. It's really weird. Everyone at her job thinks that he has a crush on her, and she thinks that he's just doing it to get under her skin. And to be honest, I would think the same, because why are you here? We're not even friends. Go away. Weirdo. Anyway, so a few days later, she's like doing some student body president stuff, and Takumi shows up for whatever reason, and he's like, hey, you need to take it easy sometimes, like you're going to get sick. And then she's like, I don't need you to tell me nothing. And then she faints. Of course she does. And he catches her, but she slaps him, because of course she does. Jesus. So, like, I think it's the next day or maybe that night, she's working at the maid cafe and she's not feeling too well. So she steps outside, like, into the back alley where the trash bins are to, like, take a breather because she, like, has a headache or something. And then the Three Stooges show up. And see, this is why I hated them at the beginning. Let me explain. So the Three Stooges show up and they're like, oh, so the student body president works at a maid cafe. And they're, like, grabbing her and, like, trying to take pictures of her and all of this, like, really borderline assaulty stuff. Like, it's so uncomfortable. And then Takumi shows up and rescues her, and he's like, you put your hands on her, go away. And then he glares at them and they run away like children. So there's that. I was like, these people are just disgusting. They go to her school, by the way, the Three Stooges. They're like students there, and she's like always really tough on them because they're always breaking the rules. Like, they set them up to be these weird antagonists, and then the next day they're like at her job like, wow, Misa-kun is so amazing. Like, anyway, a few days pass and she locks some boy at school in a supply closet because he was tormenting the girls during gym class. And the other guys are like, Takumi, help! She locked her bestie in a closet! And he's like, why'd she do that? And then they explain, and basically she locked him in there and was like, repent for your sins. And then Takumi is like, well, then I guess he gotta repent. This ain't my business. It was really taking me out. He was like, guess he gotta repent then. And was started to walk away, and he heard some of the guys like planning to attack her or something. I don't know. The guys in this show are very aggressive with her. So they were like, guess we just gotta attack her because she be doing too much. And then Takumi broke the door of the supply closet to get the kid out so that they wouldn't attack his girl. That isn't his girl yet, but his girl. And then he's like, fix the door and also leave Misaki alone, basically. It's cute, I guess. Anyway, fast forward an indescript amount of time, and the school is planning a like New Students Day festival thing to attract more people to come to their school. And Misaki wants it to be very friendly and open to like girls because she wants more girl students to come to this previously all-boys school. Obviously, they're trying to diversify the class. That makes sense. Each class of students is supposed to do like an event for the New Student Day sort of thing. And there's one class whose ideas keep getting rejected because they're all suggesting like weirdly sexual things, like strip rock paper scissors, and she tells them to do a coffee shop because they can't think of any ideas that aren't weirdly harassy. Meanwhile, Takumi is still visiting her at work all of the time, and again, now the Three Stooges are coming, and they're like, Misa-chan, she's so amazing, and she's always like berating them, like, can you idiots go away? But they're like starstruck now, and I'm like, y'all definitely tried to attack her in episode 1. I didn't forget. Why are you making me want to like these people? Like, huh? Anyway, one day, Takumi warns her that if she doesn't learn to compromise with some of the male students at school, they're all gonna, like, it's gonna backfire on her in some way, shape, or form. And she's basically like, I don't really care. I don't like guys anyway. So if they want to turn me into a supervillain, then fine. That's their business, I guess. And then the next day is the student festival. And the boys that are supposed to do the coffee shop that she assigned them because they couldn't think of any ideas that were appropriate, decided they were going to turn it into like some samurai war cafe, which I think the samurai costumes would have been cool if they didn't make it like all weird and war based. Like they could have just dressed like samurai and left it there, but instead they were like kidnapping customers and they were like, you're a war prisoner, sit down and order coffee. Like it's so aggressive. Y'all could have just dressed like samurai if that's what you wanted. This doesn't really, like, I get that they were trying to get back at the student body president, but it doesn't really do you any good to chase away new students. But anyway, I guess it doesn't matter. Misaki goes to check on the class because she doesn't trust that the boys are doing anything appropriately. So she goes in there and she sees all of like the blood and the samurai costumes, and she like drags all of the boys into the hallway and she like yells at them because they are ruining her event. And they're eventually like, man, shut up, you don't listen to us anyway. So they get up and they like try to walk away. This wasn't foreshadowing. Like, what Takumi said to her wasn't even foreshadowing. It was a direct warning. This happened the next day. I was so mad. I was like, I'm assuming that he knew what they were planning and that's why he told her. Anyway, she apologizes for yelling at the guys because like the girls in the class are drowning trying to keep up with all of the students that are like in the cafe because all of the guys walked away. And the guys are like, no, screw you. So she goes into the coffee shop thing and she starts working with them. Obviously she has a lot of service like practice because she works at a maid cafe, so she's killing it. Takumi goes inside to help her. I forgot to mention this earlier, but Takumi is like most popular boy. All of the guys look up to him, like they adore this man. So when Takumi goes in to help, they're like, what you doing? And he's like, I'm going to help her because they're drowning in there and this is something that y'all were supposed to help them with and you decided not to, so I'm gonna go do that. And because Takumi does it, and also Misa is like customer service to the max, she got it on lock, okay? And all of them are like, wow, so she can be nice to people? Wild. She accidentally addresses one of the customer as master because that's what they say in like the maid cafes, and then Takumi like fills in with like a butler role to make it not seem weird. Also, for some reason he does this scene in fluent English. Like
another cup of coffee, young lady.
And I'm like, why are you speaking English? And it's the only time English is spoken in the entire show, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, all of the guys eventually decide to go and like help out in the maid cafe, or it's not a maid cafe, but they go decide to help out and they're all like playing parts or whatever. They kind of like make it into a maid butler cafe kind of energy. They just do whatever the customers ask them, basically. It's a fun time. Anyway, something happens. I don't know why I wrote this, but I wrote that this show is sickening because Takumi's low-key a creep, but because he's cute, we're just supposed to forget it, I guess. And I can think of a couple reasons why I would have said that, but I don't know why I said it here. There's one scene where she's like outside in her maid costume and he lifts up the skirt, and I was like, and we didn't like gouge his eyes out for that? Hello? Anyway, there's a scene where this girl confesses that she has a crush on Takumi, but he's busy watching Misaki in the library, like yelling at some guys that are standing on ladders and throwing books around because the boys in this show have absolutely no home training for some reason. So this girl is like, hey Takumi, I have a crush on you, and he's like, okay, well, I'm a weeb, I spend all my time at maid cafes and I want to date a cat girl or something like that, basically to get her to leave him alone. And Miss Girl is like, that's okay, I'll be whatever girl you want me to be, because she thinks that he's like testing her for some reason. But again, Takumi's attention is on Misaki. She's in the library yelling at these boys who are messing stuff up, and then one of them falls off the ladder because of course you did, you have no business on a ladder. He falls off the ladder and in some like superhero moment, Misaki grabs him, puts her behind him, and uses her arm to like stop the ladder from crushing this child. Very heroic. But anyway, he runs inside the building, finds her, and asks her something or whatever, finds a way to like egg her on so that she tries to hit him. And then he grabs her arm and he's like, "You're bruised." He takes her to the nurse and wraps her up, and he's like, "I can't believe you were just gonna pretend this wasn't as serious as it was." Anyway, episode 4 introduces Misaki's boss's niece, who apparently just got disowned. And this is very convoluted, the way they explain this in the show. So, they don't specify it at the beginning, but her name is Aoi. That's her name. She is also like a super big like internet blogger personality. She's like 14 years old. And at first when I was watching this, I thought that she got disowned because she was like trying to seduce men on the interwebs, and she's like in middle school. And she's gonna be staying with Misaki's boss for a little while until Misaki's boss's brother, like the kid's dad, cools down. And Miss Niece sees Takumi walk into the maid cafe because he's there like every afternoon, and she's like, I want him now. Keep in mind, she's still in middle school, like just in case you forgot, she's like 13 years old. But again, as I explained, this is her thing. She's like really into seducing men. Anyway, then there's a mini crisis because the cafe's cooking team like can't come, and Tamaki decides to save the day because I guess the dude can cook too. And after a test that the boss has him take to see if he's like material to cook in the shop, he saves the night. So, like I said, Aoi has her sights set on Takumi. Takumi is head over heels for Misaki at this point, so he's cannot be bothered with this child. Good, because she's a child. She gets mad and takes it out on Misaki because Misaki isn't like super feminine, and she's like, how can he like you when you dress like a man, basically. Side note, at this point in the show, I made a note to say I definitely thought Misaki was queer because there's a point in like episode 1 where some girl gives her a flower for like helping them move something, and Misaki is blushing so hard. This is when the show tells me that Aoi is trans, but after they like show us that Aoi is actually like born male, everybody refers to her as the boss's nephew and as a boy and misgenders her. So I think for the remainder of my video, I'm going to continue to refer to her with she, her pronouns and as if she's a girl. So, yeah. Apparently, her dressing as a girl is the reason why her dad kicked her out. That's the real reason she got kicked out, not because she was seducing men online. Moving on, Misaki has to close up the shop one day, like, by herself because the boss is at a meeting and the other two girls, like, have to leave for something. And this is right after, like, the boss mentions that there's some people who have been attacking women at night. Misaki is like, I'm okay, because she, like, knows judo or something. And Takumi, like a complete weirdo, decides to pretend to be an attacker to prove to her that, yeah, you may be able to defend yourself to some degree, but you are a girl, and you should be more careful. And that plan doesn't really work because she knocks him into the fountain when he tries to attack her. So he loses that fight. I don't really know if that's supposed to have proved his point because she managed to escape her attacker. But anyway, he did this and it genuinely upset her, which makes sense. Like, I would be mad too. Why did you pretend to attack me to prove a point? Like, I understand that he's coming from a place of genuine concern, but what the hell? Like, that's so creepy. Why would you do that? And so that, like, genuinely sets her off. And obviously they argue a lot throughout the show, but this one, like, really, really made her angry with him. And he's like, damn, might have went a little too far there. You don't say, buddy! Takumi's motivation for wanting to warn her that she needs to be more careful comes from the fact that there are these two guys that he sees at the cafe who are, like, watching her. And he peeps. He's like, what are they? They're up to something. I don't trust them. And that's why he decided to try and warn her by pretending to be an attacker. Bad plan, but place of genuine concern. Anyway, she's closing up the shop by herself again a couple days later, and these guys somehow manage to sneak into the shop or something. They take her up to the second floor and they, like, handcuff her. And Takumi's waiting downstairs for her to finish. I guess he planned to walk her home or something. I don't know. He's always there when she leaves, but we never see them like go home together or anything. So I don't really know why he'd be there. But he was there. He was waiting for her to come out. Noticed that she didn't come out, and then he was like walking around to the front of the shop, and he heard their voices, even though they're on the second floor. Ain't no like open windows or anything. But yeah, he hears them on the second floor. He sneaks up there and he sees her like handcuffed, and these guys are like, we know you don't actually care about the other customers, but like us, yeah, you want us. You want to be our maid. And she's sitting there, and Takumi is like, guess I got bust through this damn glass window. It's like a balcony door, basically. He's like, guess I got bust this open and rescue my girl again. As he bursts through the window, Misaki breaks out of the handcuffs. So I don't know how she managed that, but she breaks out of the handcuffs and just opens a can of whoop ass on these dudes. Like, she takes them down so fast. And Takumi's standing there like, damn. And I'm just like, you broke that window for no reason. And Misaki's like, my boss is gonna flip when she sees this. Like the broken window. Anyway, her boss does in fact flip. But fast forward again, because there's no concept of time. I have no idea how long this show takes place over at all. But anyway, fast forward an indescript amount of time again. A group of freshmen come to Misaki like at the beginning of their term here, and they want her to like be their mistress, like their leader. So they basically become her fan club. It's so funny because there's like one day where they try to follow her to work, and the Three Stooges show up to defend her, and they're like, hey, she said not to follow her. They're really good at keeping her secret, by the way, so shout out to them, I guess. But then the Three Stooges try to follow her to work, and the freshman fan club are like, if y'all can follow her, so can we. And then there's like a chase scene through the subway station where she's trying to escape them, and Takumi does that very dramatic thing that happens in shows where he yanks her around a corner and is like, shh. And then the guys like can't find her. The freshman fan club for some reason can't find her. Then we get a montage of the freshman fan club following her around school, and her having to run away when it's time to go to work, and Takumi doing that yank her into corners and into rooms thing that is very common in TV shows. Until he eventually tells her that she should just tell them the truth because it's too much of a hassle to run from them every time she has to go to work. Eventually she decides she is going to tell them, but before she can like do it, she drops a photo that Takumi has of her from the Maid Cafe, because the cafe has events where you can win a picture with the maid. Takumi won an event, took a picture with Misaki, and he's just been carrying the photo around, and she tries to take it from him, and the two of them end up dropping it off the roof, and she's like freaking out about it, and Takumi's like, I mean, I'll go down and get it if you want me to. And she's like, by the time you get down the steps, one of them is going to see the photo because the freshmen are outside downstairs or something. They're talking, and he's like, I'll just jump off the roof and get it. And she's like, you can't do that. You can't jump off a roof. Are you insane? Why would you go through that to get a photo? And he's like, because I love you. And then he jumps off the roof. And then she's about to tell her fan club, hey guys, I work at a maid cafe. And Takumi decides to tell them that she is his bodyguard instead. And he says it's because he doesn't want any more people seeing her at the maid cafe. He says, this is my secret. I already have to share the Three Stooges. Anyway, so earlier in the show, he made her uncomfy by kissing her. I think this happened on the roof before he jumped off of it. And she was, like, unable to speak to him because of it. Like, he would come around and she would, like, turn red and run away. As a method of rectifying this. Because he likes to show up at her student council meetings. He's not on the council. He just be there. But she, like, can't talk to him anymore. So, to make her comfortable, I guess, he assists the vice president with something. Like, the vice president is this like scrawny looking dude who comes in with like a stack of papers that he can barely carry, and Takumi takes some of them from him to assist. And the vice president is like, oh wow, Takumi, thank you so much for like helping. And he's like, no problem, and you can repay me by doing this. And then he kisses him. Takumi kisses the vice president like it's no big deal. And I'm like, you want me to believe that this is a straight man? Yeah. Okay, sure. The logic behind it was, if she thinks that I just be kissing people to kiss them, then she won't be as uncomfortable around me, and it worked. I don't know why it worked. Anyway, some boys at her school get into a fight with some boys from, like, another school, and she has to go and sort it out as though she's their parent. Like, this doesn't happen in school or during school hours. Like, her friends are coming up to her at the middle of the night. They're like, hey, maid, Some kids from our school got into a fight. Help! They're in like the middle of the city. So she runs over to go and help them. And she's like, what's going on? What y'all kids doing? What's up? I initially thought that it was her fan club that got into this fight because like she ran off to assist with the quickness. But no, just some random students who I don't really think have come up until this point. But she goes to help them. And it was a fight with some rich kids at like a rival school or whatever that is hella classist. Apparently the rich kids insulted them, so they like hit one of them or whatever, and the rich kids are like, oh, well, they assaulted me, I demand an apology. And she's like, okay, so apologize, like, to her students. They're like, nah, we ain't gotta apologize to them. And then the rich kid is like, I don't want to do this now, so come to my school at XYZ time for an apology, otherwise we'll sue your school. I don't really know how that works. Like, one student attacked you outside of school time, off school property, and your school is going to sue their school for it? Child, this sounds like a personal squabble, but I digress. Misaki insists that the students go to the school to apologize. So Takumi, Misaki, and these two boys are on their way to these rich people's school to apologize, and they're like, I don't understand why you have to apologize. And Misaki's like, either tell me what they did to make you slap them or apologize to them. And then the students are like, okay. They basically made some classics joke about how their school is poor, so poor people are like insects. Yikes! Yeah. So Misaki demands that the rich kids apologize to her kids because that was rude of them to call them insects. And he's like, I don't see what the problem is with calling insects insects. And he's like, if you can beat me at chess, then I'll apologize to them. And Takumi, because Takumi can do everything, plays him in chess, beats him without breaking a sweat. And this kid is like, I don't know, 5-time chess champion in some tournament that happens. So he's like in distress because he just got beat by somebody that he thinks is a roach. Then the student council president of the rich kids school shows up to Misaki's school and is like, hey, I'd like to apologize on behalf of that stupid from our school who insulted your students. I recommended that he get expelled. And Misaki's like, whoa, you don't have to expel him. I don't think that that's necessary. And the student body president is like, wow, so the rumors are true. And she's like, huh? And he's like, yeah. Apparently her name is like revered in student council world. That she's like harsh, but she's fair. And so she's like, okay, but don't expel the kid from your school. And he's like, fine, at least accept my apology. And she's like, yeah, fine, whatever. Takumi is very, very jellyfishing, by the way, when this happens. Like, he's so mad about it. Then her job has like a ladies' day where they like only cater to female customers and they all dress up as butlers. And let me tell you, Misaki in masculine clothing is so, look at this. I wanted to melt. She looks so hot in a suit. I have like 10 notes about it. Anyway, I still don't believe that she's straight because she's talking about how much she likes ladies' days and she's like, I'm having so much fun. Being this popular, like with women, I'm having a great day. And Takumi makes some comment about her still being a girl and she's like, okay, well today I'm a man. And I'm like, yeah, Takumi, leave her alone. Let her enjoy herself dressed as a man. She looks so cute. Bye. Oh, the student council president from the other school, like the rich kid school, I forgot to mention, he invites her to go to the rich kid school when he comes to like apologize on behalf of his other student. He's like, join our student council. And she's like, I go to a different school. And he's like, so come to our school. We'll pay your tuition and everything. So right now she's considering that. And that's a big part of why Takumi's mad. He thinks that she's going to consider it. I don't know why. Anyway, so student body president from the other school seems to think that he's a mob boss. And that's probably because his dad is like, I don't know, president of the school or something. Maybe he owns it. Something like that. I guess that makes him think that he's above the law, ? He starts like stalking her, trying to find out information. Whoever his information person is found out that she worked at a maid cafe. Anyway, then I almost cried because the boys at her school were sitting there and they were having a conversation in the classroom. And they were like, I mean, if she wants to leave, then I guess things go back to normal. Like, we can go back to acting the way we did before she was student president. And then the two boys that she like defended to the rich kids are like, hey, how dare you say that? Don't you know how much she cares about all of us? And then the other guys who are like, yeah, we can go back to normal are like, yeah, we know how much she cares, but we can't stop her if she wants to leave. And I was ready to sob. Like, damn, they actually care about her. Like, Anyway, Misaki goes to like the fake mafia dude from the other school to tell him that she is not going to the rich kid school, but he thinks she's coming to accept the transfer because he's an idiot. And then she gets like orange juice or something spilled on her by one of his assistants, and he's like, oh, you can take a shower because they have a shower attached to the student council room for some reason. So she goes into the shower. While she was in the shower, somebody took her uniform that she had wore there and replaced it with a maid outfit. A mess, really. So the guy is like, put on the clothing and come out here. This is when she finds out that he's like a mega creep. And he was like, you have 10 seconds to put on your outfit or I'm gonna just come in there and make sure you're not hurt. So she puts on the clothes and then he like attacks her. I feel so bad for her. This is like the third time she's been attacked. Like, there were the two guys who broke into the shop and tried to kidnap her. There's the Three Stooges from episode 1. Even Tamaki has like harassed her a couple times, and I don't know why I'm just supposed to pretend that that's okay. And now this guy is also trying to assault her. Save my girl Misaki. Get her away from men. But anyway, Tamaki shows up and he rescues her. Meanwhile, her entire student body is planning to come to the rich kid school and stop her from transferring because they all think that she's going to accept the transfer. So when she leaves with Takumi from the building, her entire, like, student body is out there like, don't leave us, Misaki! And she's like, y'all, I wasn't going nowhere, but this is really sweet. Anyway, fast forward, Misaki and her besties go to meet Sakura's favorite band because she, like, won a meet and greet with them or whatever, and they go to lunch. The lead singer of the band, Sakura has, a big-ass crush on. She's, like, head over heels in love with this man. And he's not at all interested in her. He, for some reason, takes an interest in Misaki. And then Takumi shows up, because of course he does. And he intercepts the singer when he's, like, trying to put the moves on Misaki. And then the singer is, like, a total ass to Sakura, like, completely ignoring her and asking her too many questions about Misaki. And Sakura's like, oh, he likes her, not me. And then she's like super upset. And then Misaki comes back to the table and he's like openly flirting with her now in front of Sakura. And side note, the bassist of this band is so fine. If I can find a photo of him, I'll put it here. He is arguably my favorite character in the band. The other two don't talk. Like, the guitarist and the drummer don't say anything. They maybe have 3 lines in the entire episode. But the bassist and the singer talk a lot, and the bassist is so cute. I'm in love with him. He also is not a like, when the lead singer, like, is flirting with Misaki and being rude to Sakura, he's like, dude, hello, get it together. Misa goes off on him. And then when they leave, the third bestie, the one whose name I don't remember, but I love her so much, goes off on the girls for making a scene in the cafe because, like, Sakura was upset and then Misaki went off on this dude. Also, the Three Stooges were there. The Three Stooges were there. They were stalking Misaki because she wasn't at the cafe, and they were like, we gotta go find our girl. Like, weirdos. Anyway, for some reason, Sakura and Misaki's other friend decide to stalk Takumi because they are curious as to where he lives. I don't know why, but they drag Misaki along with them. I don't know why. Again, like, I don't really care about his rich boy lifestyle. Also, why is he so rich? I don't think there's any mention of his parents in the show, so I don't know why he has so much money. This just occurred to me. He lives in an apartment by himself, by the way. We find out at the end of the episode. Anyway, the vice president is still going through an identity crisis because of that time that Takumi decided to kiss him. Like, every time Takumi shows up, he's like a blushing mess in the corner, basically ready to melt. It's adorable, but that poor boy doesn't know what to do with himself. And then we learn that somebody at their school very much hates that their school is now co-ed. And he tries to use hypnosis on Misaki to, I don't really know. He thinks that making her embarrass herself in front of the teachers, because all of the teachers adore her, will somehow prevent more girls from coming to the school. Maybe because they'll take away her student council member position, and without a girl on the student council, girls won't be as likely to come. I don't really know what his plan was. It didn't make no sense. But he tries to use hypnosis on her, but it didn't work because Takumi showed up to save her. He took her to, like, the nurse's office, and then Takumi tells her about what happened, and she goes to talk to the rat on her own for some reason, and he hypnotizes her again. This time, if she falls asleep within the next 24 hours, she will hate Takumi forever. Because he realizes that there's no way for him to get to her if she and Takumi are working together. He refers to them as the unbeatable duo. Apparently, that's a thing that people call them. It's never been brought up until now. So he figures if I can sever the two of them, then I can get to her and I can successfully do my thing. When Misaki hears that this is his plan from Takumi, she's like, that doesn't make any sense. I already hate you. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So he tries to spend the next 24 hours keeping her from falling asleep. And they basically just have to make it till 5 p.m. the following day. And she is, by like 4:30, ready to pass out. And the vice president is like, oh, I have these like blueberry supplements that are supposed to help keep you awake. Y'all ain't never heard of 5-hour energy? The incel who's orchestrating all of this overhears him saying he's gonna get the blueberry supplements, intercepts him in the hall, and hypnotizes him to bring migraine medication that has a drowsy side effect, of course. And he gives those to her instead. So she's like ready to pass out. And they got like 5 minutes to go. She's like, I'm going to go upstairs to the roof to get some fresh air. And Takumi goes with her. They're sitting down. They're having like a heart-to-heart moment, sort of. And then she closes her eyes. And Takumi is like, that's okay. If you hate me, I'm still going to always be around you. I'll figure out a way to make you like care about me again. Even if you do like end up hating me because of this guy. And then the incel shows up and he's like, damn, that's crazy. You only had 5 minutes to go. And then the 5 minutes end and she's like, did you really think that this was going to work? She's like, I'm going to make you pay for what you did, to the incel. Anyway, the only reason that he acts the way he acts, the incel boy, is because his dad made him think that girls were super duper fragile when he was a child, because his mom left because his dad was a psychopath. So he has some like weird irrational fear of girls, basically. Anyway, a couple episodes of absolutely nothing important happens, and then the student councils from the rich kids school show up at Misa's job. And they want to buy the cafe. Or technically the vice president shows up, not the whole student council, but the vice president shows up because his dad owns like a restaurant group corporation and he wants to open a butler cafe and he's like, this is the prime location for it. Misaki thinks this is completely motivated by the president being mad at her for what happened last time they interacted. She isn't going to let Maid Latte, that's the name of the cafe, go down without a fight. So she and her other bestie, the one whose name I don't remember, I feel so bad, dress up as boys to audition for the job at the Butler Cafe because for some reason this Butler Cafe has like an audition process. It's like a huge deal. There's like hundreds of dudes that show up and they have to do it in pairs for whatever reason. So she and her bestie dress up as guys to audition for this thing. I don't exactly know how that helps. But I'm not about to argue because this was another chance to see Misa dressed in masculine clothing. Ah! But anyway, after the first round of challenges, Misa's friend gets exposed because there's like, hey, dress up in 60 seconds, like change your outfit or whatever. Misa does it fine, but her friend can't get dressed as fast and she's like still in her undershirt. So everyone's like, oh, that's a chick. Takumi was there. He and Aoi also competed and they made it through the first round because they were wearing like cat masks. For some reason. It was mostly because Aoi is a child and they didn't want him to get disqualified. You have to be like in high school to compete and Aoi doesn't meet that requirement, so they competed with masks on so that nobody would question him. But then somehow questioning Misa's friend led to them also wondering if Aoi was like old enough to be in the competition. I'm only using he him pronouns now because he's like presenting as masculine and trying to be a man for this competition. So he gets disqualified and so does Misa's friend. But Misa somehow passes and doesn't get disqualified. Like they think that she's a guy, so she gets to stay. Takumi is obviously not disqualified because he's a man and of age. The president, I think at this point he peeps that it's Misa competing, but he's not about to disqualify her for whatever reason. So he suggests to the vice president, how about you have the two of them compete together, Misa and Takumi? Since, you know, both of their partners got disqualified, but they're still here. And now we have the unbeatable duo again. I think my father is mowing the lawn, so if you can hear that, sorry. Moving right along. At some point during the Butler Cafe episode, Takumi falls trying to, like, save Misaki from something. And he, like, bruises his arm, but he's not gonna tell anybody so that he's not like disqualified from the competition. And the last part of the competition is to pretend to like do a customer. It's one of the judges. They're like, yeah, you're gonna pretend that I'm a customer here. And she's doing like all of the work so that Takumi doesn't exacerbate his injuries. And at some point, the customer is like, I noticed that you're doing all of his work. That's not a good look for you, bestie. He still wants to do his job, so it looks stupid for you to like stop him from doing it because you think that he can't handle it because he's injured. And she's like, I don't know how things work at your cafe. I get that you guys want your employees to push themselves to the absolute limit until they drop, but here we support each other so that we don't pass out from exhaustion. So he's injured, which means I will pick up extra slack so that he is not going to die here. Basically. And because of that speech, I don't really remember if she wins the competition. It doesn't matter. The point is, the president tells the vice president that he should move his cafe somewhere else, and Maid Latte gets to stay where it is. Hooray! Anyway, moving on, there's a transfer student that shows up named Shintani, and he introduces a love triangle to the show, because of course we needed one of those, even though every like 3 episodes is Takumi being jealous of somebody who's taking her attention, but I digress. He does a lot of snacking, and that's pretty much his only personality trait. But he shows up and he's talking to a group of guys and he's like, he's looking for his first love, a girl who looked after him when they were in elementary school after he fell out of a tree trying to get a cherry. Of course, the girl he's looking for happens to be Misaki, and as soon as he finds out, he spends all of his time with her. Takumi just gets jealous because of course he does. And then he spends some days trying to figure out how important this kid from her elementary school life is important to her because she still is trying to look out for him. And Takumi's like, oh, so he's a threat to my relationship. That isn't a relationship yet, but a threat he is indeed. And Shintani realizes that Misaki likes Takumi. And Takumi at this point realizes that Misaki at least shares some feelings for Shintani. And Shintani then finds out about her maid job, but he's going to keep it a secret, so it's fine. Also, at some point, Shintani and Takumi decide to declare war on each other over, like, who's going to end up with Misaki, and I'm like, y'all ain't even talking to her about this. Their love triangle takes about 4 episodes, and then I don't know what happens to Shintani. He just kind of, like, fades away. And then the last episode, there's, like, this culture festival thing that takes place that Takumi and Misaki go to together. It's like a date, but I don't know if it's officially a date. So, and the band from earlier that Sakura and her friends met before, they're playing. The bassist is still hot, in case you were wondering. I still don't like the lead singer after what he did last time, but apparently he and Sakura are dating now, so I guess we're supposed to forgive him for what happened earlier. And Misaki goes to, like, she runs into the lead singer and she's like, I still don't like you after what happened last time. And he's like, I've changed. Whatever else in the third. And I'm like, I don't believe it. Neither does Misaki, but it doesn't matter. Sakura's happy, so I guess we're gonna be happy for her. At the end of this episode, and therefore at the end of the series, because of course, there's a dramatic love confession where the two of them admit their feelings for each other. Finally, they kiss. There's fireworks going off in the background, and a very dramatic and mostly appropriate anime ending. And that's how the show ends. This has been Maid Sama in a nutshell. Thank you so much for watching. Wait. Before you go, at the end of all of my videos, I put a question for you to answer down below in the comment section. This video's question is, what is your favorite holiday? What's your favorite holiday? Because it's 4th of July when I'm recording this. Anyway, this is the real end of the video. This was such a mess. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely night. Have a lovely life. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.